Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I wanted to do a video on making the right decision, which is something that is a top 10 topic on, I think, my one-to-one calls that I do. And it comes up with so many different phases and themes. So I thought it would be good to come here and break it down. But before I go on, please subscribe to the channel. And there's also a link in the description below that will take you directly to or WhatsApp, and you can ask us questions about our coaching services and get in touch with us and get started on your recovery journey, which is so important. So you need to do it and make it a priority. Anyway, so I wanted to really break this down because I think there's so many different things that go into it. Like there's obviously a fear of having regrets for the rest of your life. There's a fear of having chronic guilt and shame for the rest of your life. There's a fear of acting irresponsibly. There's a fear of rejection as well, then, because of that responsibility, that if you don't act responsibly enough, then people are going to reject you. And then obviously there's so many other things that can come with it. I mean, you can list down literally so many things. Fear of being uncomfortable for the rest of your life, fear of being sad and depressed for the rest of your life, things like that. So I mean, obviously then the list is like endless of what it can entail, but most of the time it comes down to these two three main fears with it. And what we really have to also then understand is that, firstly, like regret, guilt, shame, as I also highlighted in a recent video as well, these are like built-in parts of our life. Like this is something that you're not going to be able to escape. You pick up any human life and they're going to have it, whether it's a big regret or whether it's a small regret. Either way, there's going to be that. Secondly, I think even like from my own personal experience as well, because I used to have this fear as well, fear of making the wrong decision. Even sitting in a restaurant looking at a menu, I would be deliberating over it for like, 20 minutes trying to think what I wanted to order. Or if I was trying to buy a t-shirt, I would just be like thinking about that for like 30 minutes and not knowing which color to get, even though I mean, it's a straightforward decision, really. And you can't really go that wrong with like a different color, but it still weighed on me. And so if you have this fear, you will also notice that it's not just with like small things in life, it also comes with, sorry, it's not just with big things in life, it also comes with like small tiny things on a day-to-day basis as well. What's the right way of doing this, what's the wrong way of doing this? If you're hosting a dinner, it's like, what should I make? Because I want to make sure my guests have the best meal, or I cook this well as well, but no, I cook that well as well. So again, tons of different situations. And what's important to look at is the fear behind it, not like what the decision itself is, but what the fear behind it is, because that is what will help you keep in mind what you're actually working towards and going towards, and what your actual aim is in working on this fear and anxiety. The other thing as well is that I've also realized that there really is no right or wrong decision. There's only just a decision. The rest is up to how we adapt to it, what we learn from it, how we choose to use it to our advantage, how we choose to use what we have gotten from it and apply that in life and adapt to it and move forward and progress, right? Because each situation will have its pros and cons. So going into that, like launching into this analysis paralysis of, does this have more pros or does that have more pros? What are the cons? Are the cons too much? Are the cons too high? Like that's going to come with any kind of decision that you have, right? So it's it's about what you choose and then how you choose to progress from it, because every situation is going to come with its cons, and every situation will have like an opportunity cost. If you choose one certain thing, that you're going to miss out on another certain thing, right? Right now I'm in Dubai, right? So I'm here for some like face-to-face one-to-ones, and also I thought I would meet some family and friends over here. So while I was booking my Airbnb, there were so many good locations to pick from, right? Because there were some that were a little more central, but then there were some that had a little more scenery. There were some that had a lot of like good places nearby. So it was obviously like you have to then, when you're traveling, you really have to think about what is more practical and what would be more helpful, while also trying to, you have to have like the perfect like cross of different things, right? Which is feasibility, but good location, but also good scenery. And so you really have to, you juggle between a few of those things. But there were several good options that I could have chosen from, but it was but I had to compromise on certain things. So there were certain places that didn't have the best like view or something, but it was a good location. So I thought, okay, might as well. Some didn't have, some had the good location, but didn't have the amenities. I think that's how you pronounce it. They didn't have those, some of those. So I thought, I don't know which one, but eventually, like one thing that OCD sufferers then struggle with is then making a decision and then sticking with it. Because the other biggest mistake and biggest compulsion actually, which people make, is that they make a decision and immediately they backtrack. They want to be like, oh no, I can't, like I can't do this. It's and this is something that you see even with like relationship OCD. You there's a massive urge to break up. You break up, and as soon as you break up, it's like, oh no, I think I made the wrong mistake. And then 2 days later, you wanting to be with the person again, and obviously it becomes like a very confusing kind of situation even for the other person, because they have no idea what's going on in our head. So like backtracking is a very common compulsion with decision making, because sticking to a decision immediately starts to feel very overwhelming, that oh no, like now I'm on this track and I'm on this path, there's no going back, and like now I have to stick with it, and it feels like this overwhelming sense of responsibility then, that I made this decision and this is how it will be. And fear obviously kicks in, that now I'll be stuck with this, and the consequences are permanent and they are life defining. So again, these are so crucial, like these are crucial points to really keep in mind as well, because when you develop this understanding behind like each and every single decision that you have to make, when you have these insights behind it, you start to really see where the fear cycle is operating and where the anxiety is coming from. And like I said, then your aim is also on actually the fear itself that you have to work on, not the decision itself. I mean, you can, like, if you're buying about to buy a house, you can buy like a several different good houses, but then like how are you using building a mindset of adapting to whatever challenges or cons that come with buying that specific house. It's the same with like a relationship, which seems like one of the biggest decisions, that I'm like going to stick with this relationship. That's like such a big decision, and like it's going to be life defining. And if this does not align perfectly well, completely, then everything else will fall apart. Again, you're putting way too many stakes on just one singular factor. So in looking at that, instead of really looking at, of course, I mean, it's important to look at pros and cons of each situation, but at the end of the day also, it's about what how you are giving yourself the opportunity to progress and put yourself in that position, in that decision, where you can then still, even with the cons, still keep going towards the goals that you want, right? And because there's always a way, there's always a way that you can use the situation or the circumstances to your advantage to be able to do that. And also, wrong decisions and right decisions are not permanently right and permanently wrong. Let me explain what that means. Again, let's take the example of a relationship. When you marry someone, it might be feeling right in that moment, but like 15 years later, if that, let's say, person starts acting out or they start displaying some really bad behaviors, will you be like, oh, that decision I made 15 years ago was a wrong decision? No, I mean, it probably was a right decision for that time and for those 15 years, but now it's not the right decision anymore to stay. And vice versa. Something that feels wrong initially can start feeling good and right later on, because the circumstances have changed, the situation has changed so much. And so these are like so in that sense, even if you ask like 100 people for reassurance, and they give, all of them say that yes, this is the right decision, and you make that decision, that still does not guarantee anything, because you don't know how events will play out, you don't know how things will change, you don't know how circumstances will shift. And so it might not be a conducive situation anymore. And you see that even with something like technology and advancement, for example, like ways of doing certain things that worked in earlier times do not work like that in the current time anymore. In fact, people who are still doing things the same way they used to happen 10, 20 years ago, in some aspects, like are probably not progressing that much or are not successful at their work or their business that way. So now it is like 100% the wrong decision to do that, because you have to also adapt to the times and the new advancements in technology that come up. So it's kind of like the same thing. Not kind of, I think it's pretty much like the same thing with the decision that you are also making for yourself. Um, I've had so many decisions that I've made that when I, um especially when it comes to like purchasing something, right? Um, which in the moment might feel like, I don't know if like this is the right purchase to make, but I still kind of go ahead with it, and I'm doubtful of it, but I stick to that decision. And then later on, I realize, oh, I mean, I'm glad I did this because it is coming in handy and it is useful. And at times, like, there are things that in the moment have felt like, oh, this is exactly what I've wanted, and then later on I've been like, actually, this is not that great, maybe I should have done a little more research. So but I mean, there's there's no track record over here. I'm not trying to calculate over here how many times have I been wrong and how many times have I been right, because there I mean, because it's a mix of both. Like, there have been a ton of times I have been right and a ton of times I have been wrong, but the only thing that matters is then how have I then moved forward from it, and also getting comfortable with the feeling of, oh, I made the wrong decision, I was wrong, I was maybe even stupid, I was being silly. If you do not develop that comfort, and if you're not even willing to have anything bad, silly, stupid on your track record, then you're obviously signing yourself up for some massive trouble, because automatically you are giving OCD a target to move towards. That, oh, this person doesn't want any chip on their shoulder, this person doesn't want any like blot on their on their history. That is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to make every single thing feel like it's the worst decision and it makes them the worst person. Let's do it. Let's amplify it and let's like scare them out of their mind. Because, and again, that's not OCD doing that to you. That is you literally handing OCD that on a platter. It's you, it's your beliefs, it's your brain, it's what you are doing to yourself. It's not some outside force that's doing it. It's not any person, it's not like some, I don't know, elusive abstract kind of thing that is thrust upon you. It's not like some energy floating around your head. It's you. You're doing this, right? And as much as it sounds like I'm pointing the finger over here, more so actually, I'm trying to make you realize in a great way that because you're the one who's doing this to yourself, you're also the one who can get yourself out of this and really think about it in a different way. Because the perspective you're holding right now is kind of like up to you, how much you like keep that perspective and how much you want to change it. So these are some things, these are some fears that are really important to keep in mind in breaking down decision making, and why, like, and also why sticking to decisions is so important, not backtracking. Because if you're constantly backtracking from decisions, then you're also not building that muscle of what it feels like to stay in the same lane. Then you're constantly giving your brain the habit of switching, of, oh, no this, no this, no this, no this. You have to be the one to stick to something to also show your brain that that feeling of being trapped in that decision and then being stuck with that decision is not the worst thing in the world at all. In fact, it builds more like inner like robustness, and like in some ways you're able to also build a lot of self-reliance as well, because no matter whether the decision turned out to be right or wrong, you at least you have that self-reliance of like, I can, whatever comes my way, I will deal with it. Like, by the way, this happened to me today. Like, I went for a haircut, and like I've struggled my entire life to explain to people exactly what I want in a haircut and like what style I want, primarily because I never know what I want. I just know that, oh, I want it short, I want it long, but I don't know what style and I don't know how to explain it. And they often also don't completely get what I'm trying to say as well. Maybe that's down to me because I say it confusingly. And I went for a regular haircut, and they ended up just like, I don't know. I made an Instagram story about this. It's like they made me into a player, and like I look like a little bit of a, I don't know. Yeah, It's like I don't know. I'm confused what it looks like, but yeah, it looks like I look a bit like a playboy. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what I look like. And I've never had this fade either. Like this is the first time I had it. I don't dislike it necessarily. I mean, it's fine. I actually like it. It's pretty neat and smart as well. But it's also not something that I went in looking for either. And somehow it just like ended up happening. I just told him to cut it short, and he just somehow was like, "Oh, okay, then I'll do a fade." And once he did, he shaved this part. I was like, "Wait, what? Like, what have you done?" But again, I mean, I don't regret it. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll rock this look then, as long as it's here, and see if it makes me feel a different way or a different personality. So I'm going to go along with it as long as I have this hair now, which is fine. Like I'm cool with it. But even something as small as this, like a bad, not bad, like an unwanted haircut or an unexpected haircut, just use that to your advantage. And I'm here making this video in this new unwanted haircut, and I think it looks okay. Now, I mean, as more I'm going along with it, I'm like, cool. I think this is great. So yeah, I mean, small little things in everyday life, you have to stick to them. I'm not going to go back to be like, okay, you need to change this or make this look a little okay. Actually, they don't need to change it. It looks perfectly fine. And yeah, again, I'm not going to backtrack on that, or I'm not going to go online and be like, okay, wait, like, are there any other styles? Is there anything else that I need to look at? I'm not going to do that. That's another thing that you really have to watch out for, not trying to look for alternatives and constantly, was this better? Was that better? Did I? That's reassurance essentially. So think about some of these things. I thought I would do this video, and I'll see you guys around soon with another video. Bye.